Recording.
Recording. We are putting our camera on the table today because it is not sticking to the window and we have nearly broken the phone.
Just a stand.
dear.
The phone's fine.
Yeah. Anyway, hi. How's everybody doing?
Sunday morning with coffee again.
Yes, coffee.
I'm cheating. I'm getting tea.
I actually got a
Iced
chai tea charger too. Chai tea latte charger, so that was me as well.
No fancy whipped cream, frothy, fruity
Do
thing.
the
for
things.
once.
Yeah.
No dessert.
Yeah.
I was
Except I got a
teasing.
muffin. It's good.
I was teasing Samantha about that. She posted a picture online. She
Yeah.
went somewhere with her kids last weekend and posted a picture that they went through Starbucks and they had all these
Yeah.
look like milkshakes
Yeah, they're really,
in a tray.
really, yeah. But it is kind of fun to get beverages like that sometimes, though. It's an experience.
Yeah, but you said not one real coffee in the bunch.
Yeah. Yep. That usually happens, though. I'm pretty sure Starbucks doesn't actually sell their coffee. Most
They
places-
do when I go.
Yeah. I don't think I've ever gotten an actual coffee beverage. No, I shouldn't say that. I used to get Americanas. My ex and I would get Americanas with 2 shots of hazelnut in it. So that has some like espresso and coffee in it. But that's about it. It's the closest thing I got to. I just drink straight coffee at home. Close the gap. Mind the gap.
It's a little tight this morning. We're not socially distancing.
Yeah. Oh well. We're vaccinated. Yeah. So Greg, what have you been reading? Everything.
No, the last, what is it, like, actually we skipped 2 weeks ago, so
Yeah.
I've got probably 4 weeks of books, so then maybe it is a lot, and of course my memory's not going to let me remember all of it.
Whatever you remember is fine.
I know, probably when I was reading, just after the last time we did this was Project Hail Mary. Did that as part of the book club that Samantha runs. They voted to read it.
Okay.
And I had never read The Martian or anything else by Andy Weir, so I thought, okay,
Might as well.
brand new book just came out, everybody's talking about it, I'll give it a shot. Not my usual thing, but it turned out to be very much the sort of science fiction that I've always loved.
Okay,
It felt like
that's
classic
good.
science fiction.
I like when that works out.
Yeah.
Where you're hesitant, but you still enjoy it, and it feels very rewarding to have taken that chance. I like that about literature.
Yeah, but I also like that somebody today wrote a new novel that fits in perfectly with Robert Heinlein, Isaac Asimov, and Arthur Clarke,
Yeah.
Larry Niven.
All those classics that you really enjoy.
Project Hail Mary in particular had very much a Larry Niven feel about it.
I like Larry Niven, so I'll probably have to give it a try too pretty soon. We might have to schedule that in at some point
Mm-hmm.
because I'd enjoy that, I think.
Yeah, you can borrow my copy. It's an awesome book.
Awesome. I will do.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I think I had been reading the last time we did one of these coffee talks, the Southern Book Club's Guide
Yes.
to Vampire Slaying.
Yes.
And I finished that one off, and I've handed that off to you.
Yes. I'm
and-
only a little bit into it right now just because I had focused all my attention on the other things. I'll
Yeah.
talk about my books in a minute, but yeah.
I'm expecting you're going to really love it.
Okay. I already am thus far. I'm really enjoying. I'm probably 5 chapters in, 4 chapters in, and I'm already really enjoying it. It was actually kind of hard for me to put it on pause for the other stuff I was working on. So
Yeah.
yeah.
It's a brilliant novel. Definitely. I think we're going to be putting that on our top tales list.
Okay.
Along
I'm
with Project Hail Mary.
yeah. I'm not. I wouldn't be surprised because it sounds like it's good. I mean, I've read
Yeah.
some reviews, very minimal amount of reviews. I didn't want any spoilers or anything, but it seems like it's being very well received.
Yeah.
So I'm very excited about that one.
I also read, in preparation for our buddy read of ACOTAR, I read the original Beauty and the Beast. And Beauty and the Beast has an interesting history. It's originally a fairy tale that was handed down by oral tradition in France. So it wasn't written down until Gabrielle Villeneuve or something like that. She wrote a novel of it in 1740 and published it. This was when novels first started being published. And she wrote it up as a novel and published it, and it became wildly popular. Most people are familiar with Hollywood adaptations like the Disney movies that are based on a version written in the middle 1800s by somebody else, but they based that off of the Villeneuve version.
Yes.
If you watch the movie La Belle et la Bête by Jean Cocteau, I believe that was 1946 or something like that, that story, though it was based on the mid-1800s version, it is very, very close to the Villeneuve original.
Good to know.
And was a wonderful story. It's meant for children. I had the Mina Lima edition. It's very well
Yes,
designed.
the one you showed me is
Pop-ups
so
and
pretty.
Beautiful book.
Beautiful.
Beautiful book.
Stunning work. Oh. My heart.
Definitely aimed at little kids, but there's
Pretty dark.
well, the story itself isn't so dark as it is just.
It's not as dark as the
dealing with-
original, like Rapunzel, which is like
No.
horrifying.
There's
It's
no
a
children
horror
in ovens
story.
here.
Yeah.
But it deals with very sophisticated issues of relationships, and in particular how so many people judge on surface and don't look deeper inside. And the whole point of that original story is you should look deep inside a person,
Yeah.
because they may not be that bad when you get past that surface.
Yeah. Yeah. And there's so many, and it's such a timeless story that I feel like there's so many reiterations of it. Like, there's an anime that just came out that's called Belle that goes along with Beauty and the Beast retelling's theme. Like, it just keeps coming up again and again and again and again and again. It's the same thing with ACOTAR, which is an acronym for A Court of Thorns and Roses, in case nobody knows.
Everybody knows that by now.
Yeah, you would think by now, but, you know, especially now, apparently Hulu bought. There's a TV show. There's a TV series coming. I'm excited. Anyway. But yeah, so we're just seeing so many reiterations of it. It is such a timeless story of, you know, don't judge a book by its cover.
Yeah, it's been written
Which I do
up in
anyway.
various book versions probably a million times. Samantha just found a historical romance book that is based on it that she just finished reading with buddy reading with somebody in a romance group that she knows. And she said that was great, but again, it was different. Everybody takes that story and makes it a little different, which is cool.
Yeah, and that's kind of what I appreciated, I think, about, because I also just finished reading The Court of Thorns and Roses, and I was like, I really appreciated that it was a retelling without being a blatant rip-off.
Yeah.
There's so many original points made that it just didn't feel like the exact same story.
Yeah, that's what I like, you know, because I read that with Emily. We read that also, A Court of Thorns and Roses, book one of that series by Sarah J. Maas. And I was kind of leery of it, expecting not to like it. I ended up liking it.
Yeah.
One of the things I liked about it is that the original Villeneuve novel reads like a classic children's fairy tale.
It does.
It's not written for the modern reader. A Court of Thorns and Roses takes that story and it does follow it pretty closely. You know, especially with all the political machinations
Yes, the
going on.
political stuff was the thing.
There's a
was the
lot of
thing.
that which I don't think the movies bring that into
Yeah.
the story. There's a lot of political machinations among the fairy courts and the people and the kings and queens, you know,
Yeah, it's very
doing a lot of backstabbing and plotting
very complex hierarchy.
that ultimately results in the meaning
Yeah.
of Beauty and the Beast.
Yeah. Yep. I think too, like, it's been a long time since I actually read, because the original Beauty and the Beast, not the 1855 one, we actually read as part of our children's literature class, because we went through like a historical one where we read the most popular adaptations in the original and did compare and contrasts as part of a segment for our children's literature class that I took in. I can't remember. I took a children's lit in both high school and college, and I can't remember which one it was that we read it in. I think it was high school
All
that
blends
we did
together,
that one.
right?
Yeah, Because we also did like the Wizard of Oz and all those things too. Like we kind of went through all those as historical part of it. So I think I think that was it.
Okay.
It was in high school, but it was such an interesting compare and contrast because the themes were so similar, and yet the stories were so different.
Yes.
So it's just interesting to see how of the very few very basic stories that you can have, man against himself, man against outside forces, all of those things that you could have, there's so few of those very basic skeleton of a story, and yet they can all be so different when done in different combinations. It's almost infinite, and I think we kind of talked about that a lot in that particular class, and how important that was to remember that just because a story's been done before doesn't mean it's really been overdone. And I think that's really was a good point.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was a good point.
Okay, and before I started what we're currently reading, The Divine Comedy, we'll be doing a video about that. A long time ago, I heard about this book by Philip Roth. I read about it in a book talking about the history of science fiction and fantasy. And it had a chapter that got into some of the stuff that is outside of the normal genre writers that has been written. And Philip Roth was one of those. He wrote a book called The Breast.
Boob. The boob.
There's
Sorry,
a lot of-
that's where my brain went.
I mean, there's a lot of things you could think that this is about, and none of it would be
It's about
right.
chicken, isn't it? Chicken breast.
No. It's about swimming. No.
Oh, the
No.
breaststroke. Yeah.
What it is a retelling of the Metamorphosis.
Oh, okay. Oh, cool.
So it's very surreal. But instead of turning into an insect, the main character turns into a 6-foot-long, 155-pound detached woman's breast. Okay, you gotta understand, this was written in the late 1960s, okay, probably fueled by some drugs.
A little of the feminist movement. He literally became a boob. That's awesome. All right.
Well, I think what Roth was thinking, first of all, feminism and sexual liberation was getting started up at this time. And second, there was a lot of drugs and experimentation.
I'm sure.
And a lot of literary and artistic
so
experimentation going on.
Yeah.
And third is that the Metamorphosis, he kind of turns into what he turns into is kind of bringing out his inner self.
Yeah.
The insect that is feared by everybody and everybody runs screaming. This guy, kind of his inner focus, desires,
It's gotta be really
call
Freudian.
him. Yeah,
It is. I'm sure it is. I was
that
like, gosh.
manifests into what he transforms into. And, there is reference to the Metamorphosis and Gogol's story, The Nose. So that's what Roth was pulling from.
Yeah.
But very different from, you probably know Roth from Portnoy's Complaint or The Ghostwriter. Very different story from what he writes.
For sure.
And a very short story, but very weird. I like weird.
I do
very
too.
cool.
I really enjoy very bizarre things, which is why that sounds like it's so up my alley.
Okay, very 1960s. You can borrow that one too anytime
Okay,
you want.
awesome.
Just know
'Cause
that
that sounds really good.
it's an adult novel.
Really?
Yeah.
Couldn't tell. Oh my gosh. That's awesome though.
So it was good. I wouldn't call it a top tale. I
Yeah.
don't think it was his best work.
Okay. It's just a thing he wrote. I'm interested to see the social commentary in it, especially because that was written kind of in like the sexual revolution period that people
I was
were
kind of
starting up.
expecting a lot of that. I feel it was kind of light on that. It was
Okay.
more focused
Well,
on
it was
the
so
character.
early in the movement
Yeah.
when you think about it. So maybe it was.
I feel it was more
Just a dabble.
focused on the character and more like making absurd male desire, which is the feminist side of it.
Yeah. That makes sense. Interesting. Very interesting. Yeah.
Yeah.
Is there an illustrated version?
No.
There should be.
Okay, we're printing that one.
We're making it happen. Boobs everywhere. Anyway. Yeah. Anything else that you read that you really liked?
No, I've been into Divine Comedy. I'm almost done with Inferno.
Yep.
I expect to be done with that at the end of the week, and then I'm going to I tried to read Foundation back in June, and just got sidetracked.
Yeah.
I got through the first section and got sidetracked, and so I wanted to finish that before the TV series comes
Yeah.
out in September. So I'm going to quick jump and finish in Foundation. I think I should be able to do that in a week, and then we get into Dune, because
Yep.
we want to
Excited
do a
about
big
that one.
video on Dune, because the movie's coming out, but also because Frank Herbert's birthday is the first Friday in October, and we want to put the video on
Yep.
for that.
Yep. That's
It's
my
already,
next.
that one's already on our top tales list.
I'm excited for that one too, because it has been. I think I tried to start reading it when I was in college, because I had kind of fallen away from reading for pleasure, just because there was so much reading and writing for school that my junior year I had a little bit of a lighter class period, because my senior year I had to take 22 credit hours because some classes weren't offered my junior year that I had to take in order to be able to graduate. So my senior year was just blasted with stuff. But my junior year I did some reading for pleasure while I was, had more downtime. And it
Okay.
really ended up working out nicely. But I had started it and I didn't end up finishing it because I had to return it to the library because school was over by the end. I wasn't reading it fast enough. But I got through a lot of really good books that last semester.
It's a book that most people love, some people hate. There's nobody that's just kind of on the fence about
Yeah, there's no middle ground people. I do have
It's-
an Easton Press version. I actually
Oh,
have the
wow.
first 3 in Easton Press that I found at a thrift
Nice.
store.
They're
Thrift
probably
store-
signed then. Oh my God.
They're signed and,
And
they
you
have their
found it in a
certificate,
thrift.
and I found it at a thrift store. St. Vincent de Paul.
Oh, I wish I
Yes.
could do that.
I know. I just look out. I don't know how or why. It just happens. Like things just come to me.
You
I don't
and
think I
Samantha
even look for
both.
them. They just
Samantha just got
happen.
some old guy wanted to get rid of his whole Stephen King collection, so she got this box full of hardcover Stephen King, some of them
I
first
saw
editions,
that. I saw that.
for $20.
Yes. I know, but some people just don't know what they have, or they're,
Or they don't care.
they passed away and their family doesn't know what they're getting rid of. Because like,
For some people, it's just a book. It's not a
yeah,
collector's item.
I got a bunch of autographed old movie star stuff for my husband, who's big into films. There was like with certificates of authentication that this family just donated to the thrift store.
Yeah.
Just this huge box of all this stuff. Probably didn't even look through it. Just didn't want to deal with it. And there was all these photos with autographs. Julie Andrews is in it.
Wow.
I have a pack of 18 photographs, all signed by old-time movie stars. I gave it to my husband as a gift. I got it for $4.
Wow.
$4. Anyway,
Unbelievable.
but it just happens. Like, thrift stores are a gold mine. They really are. And I think that's where I found a lot of the literature that I love, was just giving something a try from a thrift store. That's where I get most of my books.
And that's really the best way. I mean, it's cool to have a collectible edition, but some of the people that are putting
Yeah.
stuff out there and charging $1,000 for a book, that's getting carried away.
It is. And
It's
low risk.
pricing a lot of people that would discover and love these books out of the market.
Yeah. And one of the things too is like getting a piece of literature to take a chance on it from a thrift store is very low risk. You're paying what, $1.50 depending on if you get a hardback or a paperback. And you haven't lost much if you don't end up liking the book. Or you could resell it online for, what you paid for it and still break even. So it's one of those things where I'm amazed more people are like, oh, I want to try that book, and they just go to Barnes & Noble, and I'm like, what's wrong with you? Like, I got my entire Harry Potter series from thrift stores because, you know, Rowling's a little controversial right now. She said some really hateful things that people are angry about. So I can still have her literature without directly supporting her.
Yeah.
I can directly support an organization that I like.
Yeah.
You know, I could take my chance on Twilight. I haven't. Still don't want to. But you can find the entire series at every thrift store at any time, anywhere, right now. Like, you could get the whole series from any thrift store because there's so many at the thrift store right now. But like the Charlie Bone series was another one that I thought was as good as Harry Potter. Charlie Bone, yeah, it's kind of a similar story to Harry Potter, where, you know, a young boy finds out he has abilities and goes to a wizarding school, but it's a little bit more modern version.
Neck's getting stiff trying to look at you.
I gritting the neck. Need a chiropractor after this one. But yeah.
It's going to be like this the rest of the video.
But yeah, like Chronicles of Narnia, I found my box set at a thrift store. Like, I mean, all these great classics that people are like, I don't need this anymore, and I'm an adult, which I think is stupid. Hang on to your children's books. You never know if you need to pass them on to a niece or your kids or anything like that. I'm not having kids, but I love my books.
Mm-hmm.
I would never get rid of the books I loved as a child. I want to be able to go back and read them and enjoy them. So,
Yeah. And they're enjoyable as an adult.
Yeah.
Like Beauty and the Beast, I never read it until now. I'm 57 years old.
Yeah. Divine Comedy I found at the thrift store.
The what?
The Divine Comedy I found at the my copy that I have.
Yeah, I know, and I saw that online for a huge amount of money, that exact same book.
Yep. Look. Just find it.
Oh my God.
I know. I find a lot of copies of the Divine Comedy at thrift stores too.
Yeah,
And the
I
nice
mean,
Barnes
it's
and Noble
been very
ones with the
popular.
little
Yeah.
notes and stuff too.
Mm-hmm.
Those copies are good.
But that exact edition that you got from a thrift store, I saw it online for $220.
At least I know
Some
what.
used book is
If I'm
trying to
pressed
sell
for
it
money,
that.
I know what I'm about.
Exactly.
But yeah, no, I love that book though. It's beautiful. Like, I love that it's so large and has these beautiful, like, the illustrations are just, especially at that large size. I love it. It's so good. But yeah, I mean, they come to me. I think it's just the universe telling me, yes, now is the time. I don't know.
You need this book.
Yeah, this
I
needs.
just got one last thing,
Yeah.
not a book, but this is going to be show and tell. Because I just finished it last night. I just did it yesterday.
It's beautiful.
I'm trying to get back into my paintings, and so I did this one.
Wow, that is so cool. Oh, the little.
Yeah.
I love it.
I put that in because of Samantha. She's a mermaid nut, so
Yeah,
I
little
just gotta
mermaid.
throw a mermaid tail in there.
Yes, it's worth it. Mermaids are great. They lure men to their deaths. Anyway, that was awesome. And you know me, I love a good moody sky, so that one spoke to me a lot.
It's actually, there's an Italian artist. He did that picture as a watercolor way back in the early 1900s. I forget his name. He's a lesser known artist, but brilliant artist. And I fell in love. I saw it on the internet and fell in love with the image. And this is actually the third time I've painted it.
Oh, that's wonderful. It's beautiful.
The first time I did it as a watercolor for my Michael's class. And Michael's wanted to keep it, so they've got it in their
Yeah,
store.
that's awesome.
And the second time I did it where I really pumped up the colors to like really vibrant, clashing, almost 60s or 70s psychedelic type colors.
Ooh, that's awesome.
And put that in the Sheboygan Visual Artists Small Works show, and so that was given away.
Yeah.
So I forget who got that one, but somebody got it and
Yeah.
loved it.
That's awesome.
And so I wanted to do a third one that was more realistic than the original watercolor.
Yeah, that's
I only
beautiful.
did a little bit more realism, but I still.
So that's
I
what
like
you've been
it.
doing in between reading.
Well, just yesterday, all day yesterday.
Oh,
I
all
did
day
that.
yesterday. You did that in a day?
Yeah. It's pretty simple.
Not
And it's just
to me.
acrylic, so I didn't have to wait for any drying.
Oh gosh. See, I could only hope to get to that level. I did a drink and paint a couple weekends ago with a girlfriend of mine, and I was like, this is so hard. What am I doing? Eventually I start screwing up, so I just like, it was supposed to be like this moon over water with like a mountainscape kind of in the mid-ground. And I kept screwing up the reflection on the water, so I just did like Cthulhu tentacles coming out of the lake instead. I'll have to post a picture on social
That'd be
media of
good.
that.
That would be
Because
good.
it's
I'd
in
like
like
to see that.
neons too. Like it's neons with the silhouette black over it, so it's really vibrant. And then it's just, I kept screwing up, so I just was like, and we're gonna make a happy little Cthulhu just coming out of the water, because that's
I
what
didn't
Bob
know he
Ross
was
taught
happy.
me. He's happy when he's destroying.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Okay. I've always thought those would. I've never been to one of those drinking art things,
Mhm.
you know.
It was fun.
But yeah, a bunch of people getting plastered and trying to do paintings. It's got to be a hilarious
Very
thing
few
to
people
watch.
were actually drinking there. My friend and I got a bottle to split. And we kind of had to sit after the class. One, because it was torrential downpour, and two, we hadn't finished the bottle yet because we were so focused on painting, so we had to do that. But it was pretty fun. We had a great time with that. That was my first one ever, and I've actually never painted before. Like,
Oh.
other than just painting a wall, you know, in a house. It's the same but different. Especially
Very
like the
different.
colors getting stripped off if you'd go over it too much and stuff with the paints that we were working with. That was like,
Acrylics.
yeah. So it was a lot of fun. We had a good time with that.
Yeah. Samantha said she did one. I was thinking, oh, that, because she's talked to me when she's been drinking on one occasion, and I thought that would be hilarious to see her
See how
trying
that
to
turns
paint
out.
on a bottle of wine, but she said she didn't have any wine because it was bring your own bottle. So,
Yeah. It was a lot of fun.
missed opportunity, whoever
Yeah.
was running
This
that.
place we went to had a bar built in. They had like the built-in
Most of them
bar.
do.
Yeah.
Like, there've been some at the Blind Horse, I think it is, in Sheboygan, in
Oh.
Kohler.
Yeah.
They've done some wine and art events
Things at
at
the
that,
bar.
and of course that is a winery.
Yeah, this place was actually a place that just does drink and paints.
Mhm.
And they had the bar in the back, and the guy was licensed. He was also an instructor. It was super fun. Like, it was just really a neat setup. And I guess it's a franchise
Yeah,
or something like that.
most of those are franchises.
Yeah, so
going
it was
around.
really nice. It was a fun time. We had a good time. And they had great music while we were painting. It was just like all these nice, like old show tunes. And then they went into Queen for a little while. And then it was Bob Dylan. And it was just, we were jamming and singing along all night. It was super fun. And the whole class was that lively. So we were all just goofing off and having a good time. It was really great atmosphere. But yeah, that's the only thing I've ever painted. And that took me a night and it still was crap. So like in a whole day you got that done. I'm like, that's still freaking impressive.
Yeah, I miss doing it. You know, mine was just Michael's in their little back room, whatever music was in the store. but,
Yeah.
with folding chairs
Yep.
and big long tables.
Yep.
But it was still a lot of fun to do that. I
Yeah.
said.
That is good. I like that. I like how passionate. You should start painting for whatever book we're reading. Just make that a
I
personal
like to.
challenge.
Time is the
I
problem.
know. You did that in a day though.
Yeah,
you
but
only
a whole
have to
day.
do
I
that.
started at like
Yeah.
11 in the morning and didn't finish it till 9 o'clock at night. So that's a lot of hours.
That
for
is a lot of hours. Okay. But still,
Okay.
that would be super fun.
So your turn.
Oh, goodness. So yeah, Court of Thorns and Roses, finished that. I was a little late on our buddy read because August was supposed to be my quiet month. I have not been home for a full day since the beginning of the month.
Wow.
I have been gone every single day and like just getting little bits of reading in the evenings. Like I was speed reading anytime we had our chats as much as I could. And then I was gone every weekend. Like the last 4 weekends, I was like in another part of the state, gone, kind of thing. And I'd bring my books and always want to read, but everything we were doing was with groups of other people. So it was
Yeah.
like, I mean, I probably would have had more time in the evenings if we hadn't, everybody wanted to play games or like cards or whatever. So it ended up being, it was all really fun stuff, so I don't regret it at all, but it was like kind of stressing me out a little bit until you were like, stop apologizing, just do. Read it when you do and let us know. I was like, thank you, because I feel so bad that I'm being so bad at this.
No, those things should never be like, you have to get it done. You
I
have
know.
to read it. Should,
I know, and
if
I was-
somebody falls behind, the others should just wait.
Yeah, and I kind of figured you guys would be like that. I knew you were pretty chill about it, but I was more disappointed in myself because I am such a speed reader. There was a little bit of a pride issue for me. Whereas, like, I can't believe I'm not getting this done. So it was mostly me. That
Yeah,
whole
that was-
situation was me.
I'm trying to remember because at one point I was way out ahead of like 10 chapters ahead of Samantha.
Yeah.
She's a really fast reader too.
And you
I was
guys were
thinking,
at
"Oh,
least,
cool. I'll
yeah,
beat
you were like
both of you."
17 chapters ahead of me. Because I was so far behind, I thought I was first.
But I was feeling pretty good about that because
Yeah.
I'm always the one behind.
Yeah, you're usually the slower reader. But yeah, I just had a lot of life happen, so I haven't gotten through as much as I wanted to reading wise. The reason we skipped last week was because so much life was happening. I'm like, I haven't even, like, my reading list hasn't changed since 2 weeks ago because I'm still working on the same stuff. So we ended up skipping that because I was just not, I was living life and the books were put to the side for a little bit. But I got through A Court of Thorns and Roses. I really enjoyed that one. That was a good one.
It surprised me that you liked it so much.
Yeah, I was a little surprised too because I don't usually like romance, but it was balanced really well.
Yeah, it would. That was my concern too. Is that it was going to be heavy
It's
on
too mushy.
romance
Yeah, I
and-
thought it would be too mushy, and the romance
know.
wasn't mushy.
No,
was
and
pretty-
it also was only there were just 3-4 chapters where it really happened,
Yeah.
and the rest of it was all
All the-
monsters
yeah.
and battles and magic and
Yeah, it was pretty good. So I felt.
And then I was really concerned about the characterization of this series as being fairy porn,
Yeah.
and
It really wasn't.
This wasn't at all.
No, this first one was not bad at all. It only had like 2 sex scenes in the whole thing.
Yeah, and
It was-
they didn't get that graphic.
No, they weren't. They were actually really tastefully done. So
Mhm.
I enjoyed that one a lot. I wasn't sure that I would, but I like the story Beauty and the Beast. It was a pretty interesting story for me as a kid when I was growing up. So I liked that.
But the original story is straight romance.
Yeah.
It's not
Yeah.
all the monsters and battles
Yeah, it
and
is
stuff.
straight
There's
romance.
magic. But
Yeah, and some conflict for the most part. But yeah, so I got through that. I really enjoyed it. I was very proud of myself for some of the Easter eggs I picked up in halfway through the book because it was like either this author forgot how they wrote this character or that's a freaking Easter egg right there. So I really picked up on that early on. I was very proud of myself for that. And then I just finished 2 minutes ago, finally, the complete works of H.P. Lovecraft.
It's
So I have
been since the
now-
beginning of the year. or
Yeah,
something?
it even had his essays in there, which was really interesting.
So you read supernatural horror and
Yeah.
literature. That's
yes.
a good book.
Yes.
Short, but
Yeah.
kind of lists all of his influences right in
Yeah,
that one.
yeah,
book.
very interesting. I liked there were a few stories that he told that were based in Appleton, Wisconsin,
Yeah.
which we live very close to. And there was one that mentioned Green Bay, Wisconsin. So I was like, oh, like towards the end of the books and the short stories, they were sprinkled in there. And I remembered, oh yeah, he had some Midwest.
Well, and he did
Midwest
that because Harry
influence.
Houdini is from Appleton,
Yep.
and he ghost wrote a story for Houdini, so they were,
Yes.
I don't know how good of friends they were, but they were collaborators. and
Yes. Yes, they were. And so that was really
plus, lot of Lovecraft's actual friends, like
cool. Yeah.
Robert Bloch and August Derleth lived in Wisconsin.
Yep, Milwaukee area. There were some stories with some Milwaukee influence
Yeah.
too, which I thought was really nice because that hits close to home for us. When he was talking about stuff, I knew where he was talking about because it's still there. So that was really neat. But yeah, I really enjoyed that. I didn't know. I had never been intentionally sheltered. I was a pretty sheltered kid, but I wasn't intentionally sheltered when it came to literature. My parents just like, they would recommend books or whatever, but we were pretty much free to read whatever we want. But horror was never kind of on our radar. 'Cause my parents didn't read horror, so we never thought to read horror. I was usually more towards like sci-fi, fantasy, that kind of stuff, because that's what my parents were into. Like we were big Star Wars, Star Trek fans growing up, and we watched all the shows together. We watched all the movies together. When all the new remakes were being done, we all went and saw those multiple times as a family. Even for the Star Trek movies, we did that. So I had always been influenced by like that fantasy and sci-fi stuff. Horror had never occurred to me. I'm
Okay.
finding I enjoy horror.
Okay.
So I'm really getting into that. My parents are like, wow, we didn't raise you to be like that. And I was like, I know, but you never told me it couldn't be either. And they're like, yeah, that's true. We never did. We wanted you to find what you loved and just read it. And so I did. And now I'm finding in my old, now that I'm older and stuff, and
Old age?
yeah, older.
You almost said that.
Yeah. Now in my old age, I feel like I'm 80 half the time.
You're a kid.
I know, right? Such a baby, but
Couple
whatever.
weeks, I'm 57.
Good for you. Wait, are you really?
Yeah.
57?
Going 56
You're the
technically
same age
right
as my
now.
dad.
Okay.
Me and my dad have the same. Oh, I didn't know that. I don't know. It never occurred to me. Anyway, but yeah. So it's just one of those things where I had never really realized I liked it until I just started delving into it. Like I had known of Lovecraft because a lot of my friends played Call of Cthulhu and stuff in college, and I had read the Cthulhu mythos a little bit, but I hadn't read all of Lovecraft's work, and it was just so well done. It all like integrated seamlessly into each other. Little hints and Easter eggs of past stories were in everything. It was just really great. I enjoyed it a lot, so I'm looking forward to delving into a little bit more horror. So I'm looking for recommendations, guys. Cosmic horror, horror, anything. If you like it, make recommendations for me because I'm just starting now in my 30s.
I'm kind of thinking The Shining for October.
I would like to. I would love to because
I've been wanting to read that for a very long time. I've never read
Yes.
any Stephen King.
yes, and I have intentionally not watched the movie with my husband because I want to
Oh.
read the book first.
Okay.
And he was telling me that Doctor Sleep was really good, which is like a sequel to it.
It was.
And so I want to see them, but I'm holding off until I read the books because it's kind of what my family always did too. Before the movie came out, we always made a point, like if there was a book, to read it. So I just kind of carry on that tradition because the book is usually better than the movie. The only exception was Howl's Moving Castle for me.
Lots of people are of different minds of that, but you got to remember, there's more than one movie of The Shining.
Yes.
There's one made for TV.
Yeah.
The first one is Stanley Kubrick. Okay, Kubrick did not simply make movies that were of the book. He transformed them into his art.
Yes.
So King hated it because of that,
Mm-hmm.
because Kubrick departed from his
Yeah,
book.
he
and
ran
so
with it.
I think with any books, except maybe Lolita, with any books that Kubrick made into movies, you can watch the movie
It's still a different story.
and not read the book, or read the book and now the movie is so different. It's a thing unto itself.
Yeah, and a lot of people were saying that too about what am I thinking of? Why did I just draw a blank? Game of Thrones.
Okay.
They were saying that the show deviated enough from the book that you're still getting a pretty original story with both. Some fans were upset about it. Some were like, that's okay. I still
Yeah.
like the show.
I saw a video on YouTube. I forget who put it up. They were talking about that. About one specific book, but also the fact that because you have two totally different medias, you can't make a movie that is exactly the book. There are things you can do in the book that you can't
Yeah,
do in
things
the
just
book.
don't translate
And
well.
things that you can do with visuals that you really can't do with the book.
Yeah,
And so they need to be different. They
Yes.
can't be exactly the same.
yeah, I agree.
And I think that's where Kubrick was coming from, is that he was making a movie, not writing a book. And so
Yeah.
he took the book as his source material, but he made the best damn movie he possibly could out of
Yeah.
that source material.
A lot of it too, I think, is just because so many books have internal dialogue of its main character or internal narrative, you're missing so much without that internal narrative. It's really hard to get that to translate into a movie.
Yeah.
Which is why I think like Peter Jackson took liberties with Aragorn's character. He had inner conflict about being a king in Lord of the Rings, but the book, he knew exactly what his place was. Had no inner conflict about it. Fully wanted to own his kingship. Like it just, but that doesn't translate well for a relatable character into a movie.
I think that's more of a political move, because today somebody who wants to be in control of everybody is a villain. We don't like that.
Yeah,
In Tolkien's day, it was
that was your duty.
starting to be an issue that that we were seeing, like Hitler trying to take over
Yeah.
the world, and that was a bad thing. But traditional stories,
Yeah.
Arthur
This was your
set out
lineage. You just did
to
it. That was your fate.
unite England under his rule, and that was a good thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
That
Yeah.
wasn't a bad thing for somebody to take control and rule. So I think and Tolkien being a medieval literature professor, that's where he was coming from in his story. But I think making the movie, audiences wouldn't
Yeah.
probably accept that idea
Yeah.
as well.
And I really want to see the movie The Green Knight because the story is
Me too.
so different, I hear, that I'm really interested to see how they ran with that one. And I think that's part of like me as an artist. I feel like people can take artistic liberties. I know, yes, the literature is great and it's the inspiration, but I think as a culture we do need to adapt to our culture in order for things to be relevant. And I think
Yeah.
artistically, like as an artist, I would love to rewrite a story and
Well,
remake
and
it.
If all you're going to do is the exact same thing that's already been done, what's the point? You
Exactly.
need to change it to your own voice, your own
Exactly.
time, your own ideas, and just use that as the framework for
Yeah.
that.
So I'm really excited to see that one. But yeah. So that's pretty much all I've really gotten through though, book wise.
Okay.
Those are the two I finally finished. Of course I still have a stack this high next to my bed of books that I still am kind of dabbling in and trying to read. I have a couple on my phone through Kindle that I'm trying to get through. I actually was going to look at on my Goodreads before I got here today, and I forgot to. When I started reading the Lovecraft stuff, and when I finally finished it, I'll have to do that later and look at it, because I feel like it was forever. Because there was a period of time.
There was a lot of stories,
It
and
is.
We've done a lot of other things since
Yeah.
the entire
Yeah, some things just had to be
space
put to
trilogy. And
yeah, some things just had to be put to the side. But I was glad to keep coming back to that one. There are some other books that I'm kind of in the midst of right now that I'm not far enough in to know if I really want to continue them or not. But I had no problem setting them down right now to do stuff, so I'm wondering if they're actually as good as I think they're going to be. Again, though, they were all thrift store books that I picked up that just sounded interesting, so I don't feel like it's very high risk for me.
yeah.
But yeah, so those are the two that I've got. I'm still working on that Joan of Arc book.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I'm halfway through. It's been really good and very interesting to kind of read about this history. They're going into the trials now of Joan of Arc. So that's getting really, really interesting because it's kind of explained politics up to that point, who's winning and who's losing, and then them questioning her sainthood, essentially, if she's really a Christian or not, or if she's a witch. So that's kind of watching that.
Well, and today she would have just put in a straitjacket and put away.
Yeah, seriously.
At least I've only seen the movie, but the way she was portrayed in the recent movie, she was a psychopath.
Yeah.
She was psychotic.
Yeah, that's what people kind of said. She was a little bit... She didn't understand the politics enough. She was ready to just swing a sword, is what it seemed like. And she was like, what, 12? 13, I think? 13 when she did this.
Yeah, but to totally go against her whole society, all the
Yeah.
rules, the way people are supposed to act, and also to put herself into such a situation where she probably would have ended up dead by all
Yeah.
sane accounts.
Yes.
And do so because she's hearing voices. I mean,
Yeah. Yeah.
today
no,
we
it was
would call
very,
that certifiable.
Yeah, it's schizophrenia as far as we're concerned. But it was just such an interesting thing. And then the fact that everybody at first just played along with it. Because they're like, well, maybe we'll get these people to be scared of this psycho bitch. So
Well,
that was,
I mean,
yeah.
one thing you can't deny is it worked.
Yeah, it did work, and she kept winning. She had a few losses. She got injured a couple times, but I think the biggest hang-up the church had, which I thought was really hilarious, is she dressed like a man. It's like this woman dressed like a man.
Yeah, but
Clearly,
you
she's
can't dress like a woman and go into battle.
That's what I said too. And then they're like, "Oh, she dresses like a man, so she must be a Satanist." Because what
Yeah.
woman would dress like a man willingly? Kind of thing, which was the most shallow
They
thing.
don't wanna be around
but
today.
of all like the letters being written to and from each of these guys, that was the biggest hang-up they had. Was who cares if she's hearing voices? She's dressing like a dude. She must die. We're gonna hang her. It's like, oh my gosh. That, and of course, like, she was going directly against the church. The church was saying, like, we're infallible. You have to follow our rules. She's like, you're not God. Which was true. They weren't, so they had a hard time fighting it. So the easiest thing to do was just kill it
Yeah.
politically, because they had to have
But
influence.
at that time, yes, the Pope was second only to God.
Yep. Yep.
And he was supposed to be the mouthpiece of God for
Yep.
the whole church.
Yep.
You did not go against him.
Yeah.
What the Pope says was final.
Yep. And so it was really interesting that despite all she did for France, like she did a lot for France just in
Mhm.
winning the battles she won, and some of the other stuff that they had her do while in the interim while they were dealing with treaties and truces and stuff like that. Like, and they still decided to kill her off even though she basically helped rebuild France in
Mhm.
a lot of ways. It's just so interesting. But yes, she was young.
Too
She
many
was
political jealousies
yeah.
there.
It was just really interesting to see that unfold because I thought it was just like I didn't know enough of the politics behind it, really, is what it was. And now that I do know, I'm really fascinated with how that all unfolded and how she was just the easiest scapegoat at the time for a lot of things.
Yeah.
So that was just really interesting. So I am continuing to plug away at that book and to understand that situation. It was just really well written. I liked how plain language the author uses. I keep forgetting who the author is too, but I think I showed it on one of our previous
Yeah,
videos.
you did.
So that it's been really good. I'm looking forward to continuing to read that, and I'm supposed to be reading by Friday. I have to have basically the entire book of The Language of Flowers read for my book club, which is happening at my house. So I have like today to read it because my mother-in-law comes to visit tomorrow.
Yeah.
And I don't know how long she's staying for. We're kind of playing it by ear, so I'm like,
Mhm.
I don't know when I'm gonna have time to finish it. So I'm gonna try and binge read a lot tonight, see what I can get through.
Well, as far as our stuff, we can push things
Yeah,
out.
no, I know.
The only thing I'm not going to do is move the video off. I've got it set for Tuesday, September 14th,
Yep.
because that's the
No, that's fine.
700th anniversary of his death.
It
but
shouldn't be an
we
issue.
can shoot any time between now and then.
Yeah, it shouldn't be an issue. I think I can get a lot done today and be able
Okay.
to deal with that. But it's been like, I'm just laughing at, and even for my book club, like we're such an easygoing book club. Even if you didn't read the book, you could still come and we do potluck and we just hang out all day, and we're all so like rabbit trail oriented that half the time we aren't even talking about. It's really fun though. It's super relaxed. We have a great group of gals who are doing it, and it's like we're all different ages,
Mhm.
so it's really fun to have like these older women kind of imparting their experience and how they related to the book versus the younger women who are relating their experience and the book and stuff. It's really nice, and a bunch of them are educators, so it's really fun to talk literature with educators and stuff. It's been a really good time. So I gotta get through at least a little bit more of that because it is a good story. It's
You need to get
just-
some men in that book club.
What?
Said you need to get some men in that
I
book
know,
club.
we talked about
I'm only
that.
saying that because of Southern Book Club.
Yeah.
If you haven't got there yet.
I haven't gotten there yet, but it's yeah, I'm looking forward to that. We're actually going to be reading that one too, so I'll at least be
Mm.
ahead of the game for that
Okay.
one. We decided to wait till October to do that one,
Mhm.
so we're gonna start to read that one. But I'm excited. And they also said they're gonna try and find me a mystery book,
Cool.
so we're gonna probably start.
Velvet Was the Night.
Okay.
Just came out by Sylvia Moreno Garcia.
Okay.
She wrote Mexican Gothic.
Oh,
It's
okay.
her
I'm
new
gonna have
book.
to read that one
I
too.
just got my copy.
Okay, I'm gonna have to read that.
It's
So,
a,
yeah.
She described it not as a thriller or a mystery, but as a noir.
Oh, I like noir.
Yeah,
I like that. Okay.
but it's in the general
Okay.
kind of thing.
Yeah, we thought we would start because I've never read any Agatha Christie, so we thought we would start with an
There you go.
classic, and then there were none. We thought,
Yeah, that's a great one.
just to kind of start me into a few more mysteries, and then there was one of the other gals in my book club said that there was another mystery author that's kind of similar but doesn't use the same formula. Like
Okay.
Agatha Christie was very much a formula writer, so she said there was another one that she thought similar writing style but without the formula. She thought
Okay.
it was good, so we're gonna
Well,
try
a lot
that
of
one.
mystery relied on that, like Sherlock Holmes was
Mhm.
always the same basic formula.
Yep. Yep.
you know.
So that was It was interesting. And then, of course, I got to get my butt on the Sir Arthur Conan Doyle short story that we were going to read, too. I want
Yeah,
to
but
get
that's
that
super
done.
short, and that's
Yeah.
not till October, so
I know, but I want to get it done and over with so I can...
I'm kind of mad. That story wasn't damaged, but the book I bought, it's an older book, a beautiful book of it, but I get it, and one of the other stories has 2 pages totally ripped out.
Oh, must have had a sex scene and somebody was mad.
Not in Conan Doyle, no.
You never know. He was in the 20s and 30s. That was when a lot of things were racy.
Wow. I just couldn't believe that somebody would rip pages out of this beautiful book. It's such an awesome cover.
Probably a
and everything.
child, honestly.
So,
Someone
yeah,
had a nice book.
could
and-
be. So I gotta try and find a different copy of it for the
Yeah.
collection because I really.
That was disappointing.
You know, I was just looking for anything that had that story, and then I saw
Mhm.
that and fell in love with it. And
Oh, well.
very disappointed.
Yeah, I know. I hate when that happens, where you get a book and it's like...
Mhm.
I did have that happen in one of my unboxings where it was a pretty book, but a few of the pages were crumpled. Not that they were beyond repair. Like, I straightened them out and flattened it out, and it's okay
Yeah.
now, but it was like... It was kind of sad, because it's such a pretty book.
It is.
What can you do? So yeah, that's basically what I've been reading and what I've accomplished reading, and
Mm-hmm.
I'm kind of looking forward to winter because my life will slow down because nobody wants to go anywhere during winter. The summer has been like the busiest summer ever, which
Yeah.
I kind of expected because it was post-COVID. Like, everybody wants to see each other.
Everybody was going stir crazy.
Yeah,
wanting to get
going
out.
straight dirt crazy. Now we have the resurgence, so a lot of people are going back to kind of being hermits a little bit. But we figured, like, my D&D group and I, we've been kind of finding things to do all summer together and hang out, just because we did miss each other so much, and just
Okay.
being able to connect and things. So it's been a lot busier than I expected. So reading's been kind of slow, but
They're going to be suggesting 3rd shot.
yep, the booster.
First for anybody who's immunocompromised, so
Mm-hmm.
you'll be on the list.
That's me. But yeah,
Mhm.
so it's been a very busy summer, and I haven't gotten as much reading done as I wanted to, but I'm really glad for the things I have accomplished reading and for like the fun times I'm getting. This little respite between waves of COVID, I think, was much needed for a lot of people,
Yeah.
and being able to have a little freedom in between to kind of relax a little bit and reconnect with people before winter or things shut down again, if
Mhm.
they shut down again. So I'm just taking advantage of it now. Not that I mind being an introvert, but I have friends who missed me, so I was like,
Yeah.
I did miss them too. It's just, I'm really okay being alone. I'm a very out of sight, out of mind friend, and I hate being like that, but it is what it is. I'm like that with books too. If I lay down the book and I forget where I put it, I forget I was reading it at all. That's
Mm.
why I have a stack next to my bed. A stack of shame.
I've got one of those.
Yeah, gotta do what you gotta do.
Yeah.
So yeah,
So
what do we
I
have?
want to know, September 11th, it's a Saturday night.
Hang out for your
cookout?
birthday?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, I sent you an email, but you haven't responded.
I'm sorry, I've been terrible at reading emails too.
You always are.
I know, I'm the worst.
I usually go on chat to talk to you because if I send an email, you're
All
not-
my friends are doing the
it's gonna
same
be 3
thing.
weeks
Even
later.
like from Hamilton a lot of the time. Like when I volunteer there, if they need to get a hold of me, it's usually by text or by messenger because my email, I try to check it at least twice a week and I just don't always get to it.
It's better than my wife. She checks her email twice a year. I tell people, email me or you'll never.
A lot of the time it's all just like, usually it's just junk mail for me, so I just go in and
Mhm.
clear it out, and like I may have 1 or 2 things that are personal email that I need to respond to, but I always forget, so yes, September 11th I will put it on the calendar.
Okay.
For your birthday.
Being a Saturday, I don't know, 4 o'clock.
Yeah, that'll work. Yeah, 4 o'clock.
That way we can do drinks and hors d'oeuvres and I can barbecue. And this time I promise I'll cook it all the way through.
It'll be fine. We liked our burgers last time. We
Raw
like our
burgers.
meat rare, so
Oh boy.
Joe and I are that way.
It wasn't intentional. I
That's
thought they
alright.
were cooked.
Hey, they were delicious, no matter what. But yeah.
But I don't know yet what I'm gonna make, but I can take suggestions.
Should we bring a movie over or something? Let us, if you want to think about it, let us know. We can.
I guess you would have to let me know what the movie is because I've got a lot of movies. Not as
Okay.
many as Joe, but there's a lot that I have.
Okay.
You know, mine are all digital through iTunes,
Mhm.
but
If there's
I've
anything,
got a huge
yeah,
collection.
anything you in particular think about, just let us know and we can
Okay.
bring it over, or we'll just be game to watch it, or if there's
I
anything you
don't know
haven't
of
seen
any
yet.
recent ones. The recent ones haven't been all that interesting to me, except The Green Knight.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, this year, no, I'm waiting for Dune.
Yeah, that's kind of what we're waiting for too. Dune and Freeman. That was the newest Ryan Reynolds movie. We want to see that one.
Okay,
It looks
I haven't
good.
heard of that.
Look, it's
Though Hocus Pocus 2, I'm probably going to have to watch that.
yeah. Have you seen Hocus Pocus 1 yet?
I don't think I ever saw that.
Okay. You, me, and Samantha should do like a buddy watch with
Yeah,
that
we've been doing
virtually.
that. Where, we watch
That's
the
one of my
movies,
favorite movies.
because she's 1,000 miles away, so we just chat to
Yeah.
each other. What's
Yeah,
you
watch
know.
it simultaneously and chat. Yeah, the three of us should do that one because I
We
love
chat
Hocus
go
Pocus.
and all, and both hit the.
Yes.
Okay, we should do
If,
that.
if
with
you don't
Hocus
mind me
Pocus.
inviting myself to that
No,
one,
not at all.
that would be super fun because I
That'd be
love
cool.
that movie.
We've got our chat things set up through Instagram. And
Yeah,
we
my
can just
husband
do
and
that.
I did that for the Godzilla movies when Kong versus Godzilla came out. I hadn't seen the other two, so we binge watched those, and then we saw Kong versus Godzilla because I love
haven't seen
Godzilla
those,
movies.
'cause I grew up
just
with
haven't
the
gotten it
originals
right.
with the rubber suits.
Yeah, we have all those too. We
Yeah,
watched
I
all
heard.
those, so my husband and I. So I knew like, because I love the Godzilla movies. The only ones I had seen were the 2000s one, and everybody says they were so bad, but I loved them. I just love like shoot 'em up, crush 'em action movies. So that to me was just ideal action movie for my little young heart. So I liked that one a lot, but these most recent ones I really enjoyed. So I was glad to see them. They're good.
Okay.
But yeah. All right.
Yeah, we'll do that. Okay, so
All right.
we should sign off. This is approaching an hour. I'm afraid. I'm
Have fun,
surprised my
guys.
phone hasn't died,
Well, technology.
especially dropping it.
Yeah. Thanks for joining us, guys. We'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.